everyone, welcome back to another video. So in this episode we're obviously on the road and we are headed up to Accelerated to do a couple of things. I want to go check on the car. Russ has sent me some photos of the progress that he's made on it, and I'm very eager to check it out and see what he's been able to accomplish. In addition to that, there are a few items, a few parts that I have now for it that need to be dropped off there to allow him to continue the project, and I have a few AN lines that I need to make to have my end of it wrapped up, so that way when his portion of it is done, we can in fact start the car and do a systems check that way. And I guess the third order of business is we need to go over the list of switches that the car needs. Now, I talked to him on the phone the other day, and we devised what I think is a fairly comprehensive list, but until you have the car sitting in front of you, it's usually a little bit difficult to do that off the top of your head. So with all that being said, we are on our way on another road trip up to Toledo. So I am going to get back to driving, and we will reconvene once we get up there and get going with the car. Alright, we are up here at Accelerated, and I've been here for a little while now. Just got into working on the car and forgot to pick the camera up. But you can't see a whole lot of the stuff that I've been doing, really just a little bit of plumbing work. Got the blow-off valve all situated as far as its plumbing and the adapter fittings and everything. Run the air line over, connects to the bottom of the intake manifold, the same with the fuel pressure regulator. And I also got the Mac valve set up for the air shifter. But what is the most important part is what Russ has been doing. So you see here we have all kinds of different wires running through the car. So he's been hard at work getting a lot of the wiring done on this thing, and bear in mind obviously is not finished yet, but he has wires running all around all different ways, and it looks really, really cool. So let's go over here where we can see a little bit more. And he has gone through and started pinning up the leash board and figuring out what's going to go to what different relays are going to function for what, and so on and so forth. And he has a lot of the wires ran to the rear of it, as he is working on the chassis harness to begin, rather. So a lot of these wires, and there's one in there for the power for an electric fuel pump in the rear, light wires, and so on and so forth. So very, very happy with the progress that he has made on this, and we are just that much closer to having this thing finally make some noise again. So I'll show you guys real quick the little Mac valve deal that I did in here. See, Mac valve is the line running back to the air tank, line running up to the shifter, and obviously the solenoid here on a little aluminum bracket that I made, if you can see that. And it's been really about it for what I've done here today. It's just this little detail work that ends up being a little bit time consuming and tedious. So I'm pretty much at the end of what I'm able to do right now. So, or aside from one big thing, and that is figuring out a fuel surge tank. And the surge tank is going to go in this area back in here. Now, I know it's a little bit close to the header, but I think with some thermal management we can go ahead and place it there and not have any real harm come from it being in closer proximity to the header. So let me set you guys down and go ahead and figure out some of the dimensions and do some of my wonderful paper drafting for this. right, I have the dimensions roughly for the fuel surge tank on my piece of paper here. I'm going to try to explain this. Hopefully I can do it in a manner that you guys can understand, or that not just I can understand. But that right there is the rough drawing of what we're working with. And this will fit in this back corner right here. So this is drawn from the perspective of being over here, but for the sake of explanation, will be right here. So bear that in mind. So roughly what this is going to be, and this isn't drawn dimensionally correct, but will be 12 inches along this dimension right here, 8 inches along this dimension, 8 inches vertically. And then the bottom panel is where it gets a little bit weird, because if you look right here, it's narrower in this corner than it is out here. So this bottom panel drawing is from this overhead perspective. So this corner right here is 2 3/4 of an inch wide, as opposed to this side out here that is 6 inches wide, and then obviously our 8 inch length for that bottom panel piece. So hopefully that makes sense. I still need to calculate the actual rough volume of what that will equate to, but I think that should be enough, hopefully, to keep this thing from starving for fuel. And if not, then I guess it was an experiment that went awry. But at least that is the plan right now. So I'll go ahead, take these dims back to the shop, get some pieces of aluminum sheet, and build this tank. And then even if I won't build mounts for it right now, but we can at least jam it in the corner here, have it function the way that it needs to. And then if I need to modify some of this sheet metal back here, I can do that, and we can go from there. But that is the rough game plan as far as that goes right now. And hopefully I didn't miss any portions of the design for this, but if I did, it isn't the end of the world. I know a welder fabricator. All right, now back on the road from Accelerated, and apologize for not filming that much while I was there. Just got started BSing with the guys there and getting wrapped up working on the car, and filming unfortunately came secondary to that. But was a good trip, got a bit done, and as you guys saw, Russ has made some really good progress with the wiring on the car. So I know there will be more to this video than just this trip, so we will pick back up later this week and continue on with other projects and other stuff to do for the remainder of this video. And we are back a few days after the last trip up to Accelerated to go check on the car. We're obviously back at the shop, and I have a few bits that I want to accomplish today. The first of which will be making the bulk of the surge tank. So I went ahead and I found these materials that I had sitting around that just so happen to be, it's 1/8 inch thick aluminum, but it's 8 inches wide, and I think I have roughly 3 feet on this larger section, and then maybe a little bit less than a foot with this smaller section here. So I need to do the drafting on the pieces themselves to determine if I have enough materials to make this surge tank in its entirety. But that will, or what I have there at least, will be a good start, and will allow me to get the bulk of the main body of the surge tank completed. Now I'm without a few of the materials for it, as obviously the tank would just be a box without inlet and outlet bungs on it. But I don't have those bungs right now. I had to order them. My fault for not being proactive and ordering them before, but the bungs are on the way, and frankly I don't exactly want to place the bungs until I know exactly how everything is going to sit in the engine bay on the Supra, and I can place them exactly where I want them and need them to be. So beyond that, I brought my radiator back with me, and I'm in the process of putting a few sensor bungs on the side of it. So we have the top one that will be coolant pressure, and there are 2 3/8 bungs, or 1 3/8 bung installed now. I have the second one out in the my daily driver, that one of these will be for the fan switch for our brushless fan, and the other one will be for regular coolant temperature. So I didn't have that second 3/8 bung before, I have it now, and we'll install that today as well. And I guess the last bit that I'll show you guys is a project that I already wrapped up, but it's this little guy right here. And what the purpose of this is, on a normal 2JZ head, on the back side of it, you have this heater core port. Now this one's a little bit mangled as I was trying to pull it out of here, but what we are doing with this, or what the purpose of this is, on the head that's actually on the car, this piece replaces this piece. And we're going to use, or the function of this is essentially like a steam port kit on an LS, where you are trying to get hot coolant and hot gases that way out of the backside of the cylinder head, so that way you don't have an issue with overheating the backside of the head and making that area more prone to detonation or torching the head, melting something that doesn't need to be melted. So that's the purpose of that part. That's completed. I did it off camera as it was really just a simple little project that was not that interesting. But I'll install that the next time I go up to Accelerated, as well as put my radiator back in the car at that point, and we'll hopefully have a completed surge tank, or one at least that I can take there, mock out the bung locations, and get that finished up at a later date. But I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and I can get started drafting these dimensions out on these pieces of sheet metal and see if I do in fact have enough material to make this thing happen. Here's what we have so far. So this would be the engine bay side right here. From this corner to this corner is roughly 6 inches. On the other side, this would be the fender side. We have 2 3/4 inches, and then obviously 12 inches up top. So I screwed up as I was doing this, and I did not, it just wasn't thinking. And this section right here, which would have been this fender side, obviously is not long enough to make its way the whole way out to this corner right here. So not a big deal. I'll just have to cut another panel for it, but a little bit of a pain, but not the end of the world. So I have this piece of aluminum on the ground behind me here. I'll go ahead and mark out where the I'll mark out the shape that I need to cut out of it. I will recut that piece out of that piece of aluminum, get it tacked onto the side of the tank here, and then that will leave only this panel on the bottom here that is outstanding. And I'm going to wait to make that panel until I can get this back up to Accelerated, because I really want to make sure that this straight line right here will work, rather than having to make a radius cut on it to clear the portion of the sheet metal on the actual chassis of the car. Because I'd really like to minimize the amount of cutting and modification to the body of the car. I'd like to minimize as much as I possibly can. So let me go ahead, I'll get this panel recut out, because always remember, measure once, cut twice. I'll get that panel cut out, get it tacked on here, and then we'll be as far as we can go with the surge tank right now until I can go ahead and get this thing back to Accelerated, throw it back in the car, and make sure that my math and measuring actually worked out correctly in practice. Alright, so we have the surge tank, or at least this portion of the surge tank, made up. Like I said, I'm going to leave this bottom panel out for the time being, so that way I can determine if it needs to be tailored to the shape of the sheet metal there. And you may see that the radiator is here as well. We're going to go ahead and put this bung in that hole, weld it up, and that will be all the sensor bungs that I need for that. So yeah, I guess let's go ahead, get this bung put in, and then we can keep going on. All right, today we have a special guest here in the shop. Good buddy of mine, known him for quite a while now. He has a really interesting business concept that he's enacting at this point in time. So Darius, you want to come on in here? And this is my buddy Darius here.
How's it going, Alex? How's it going?
So, Darius, I've known you for, what, a few years at this point in time?
Yeah, and something like that.
Big into Turbo Nissan stuff and drag racing and everything else. Drifting, road course racing, pretty much any type of racing, he's into it. You worked for, what, BMW for, or what was the race team that you worked for?
I worked for BMW for about 5 years or so,
Yep.
doing E90 and F30, E46 race cars. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff. But the business concept that you have now, you are doing alignments at this point in time, correct?
Yeah.
So I guess, let's tell the viewers, what is your company name? What's your specialty? Just kind of a rough overview of the company and what you're doing there.
All right, so the name of our company is Perfect Balance. It's at Perfect Balance PB on Instagram. It's where I promote all my stuff. Right now, I'm doing alignments, scale pads. It's pretty much the type of alignment you'll see at the racetrack. You know, all the professional guys do it. And I've had quite a few customers. Everyone seems to love what I do. Right now, I'm based out of Lake Orion. It's north of Detroit by an hour or so. But yeah, I do most types of cars. For drag racing, is mainly IRS. I'm not your solid axle guy, unfortunately, right. You know. But you know, I do a wide variety of things, everything from Nissans to CTSVs all over the place. You know. Yeah,
so it's like you're not just dedicated to, like, I just do drift cars or I just do road race cars or anything else. It's cool to see that you do a little bit of everything, and everybody can benefit from the services that you offer.
Yeah.
So I know I've seen the videos and the pictures of you, and I know we always make fun of you for using the caliper to set toe and to get measurements that way. But to have it be that precise and to take that much care in doing it, I mean, it really speaks volumes as to how seriously you are taking it and just the service that you're offering. So
yeah, I take all my skills from when I worked at BIM World and like the other team I worked when I was in college, and that's how we did it. You know, we measured toe to the thousandth of an inch. We measured rod height to the thousandth of an inch. So I try to give my customers that, especially for the higher level, higher tier alignments that I provide. You know, with the corner weighting and everything, I try to make it as precise as possible.
Absolutely.
No matter the skill set of the driver. You know, I just try to make sure that they have a good foundation and they build their skill set from the car.
Absolutely. And I know we've talked about it before, but at some point, whenever the silver car is done, you'll be the one who ends up doing the alignment on that thing. So I can't wait for that. Yeah, and if the car drives crooked at 200 miles an hour, I guess I can blame you for that.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. But no, it should be fine. I've done a few like Supras and IS300s, essentially the same rear suspension setup, so should be great.
Awesome. Well, Darius, thanks very much for giving us the breakdown of it.
Thanks for promoting me.
Like I said, Perfect Balance, that will be linked down below. So if you guys want to check it out, if you're local to the area or even want to come in and have Darius do the alignment for you, his contact information will be there, and you guys can get in touch with him, and he can get you set up with it.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yep, thank you. After we had the visit from Darius, I also now have the third bung welded into my little brace plate right here. And the reason why I have this plate as opposed to just welding the bungs in, the radiator tank, if I remember correctly, I built it out of 60,000 thick aluminum sheet. So not a whole lot of thickness or structure to that material. And by the time that you have the bung welded to it and a sensor in, and you have that weight and leverage on it as it can sit and drum around as the vehicle and the whole thing vibrates, I didn't want to run the risk of having those bungs break and causing obviously a coolant leak and all kinds of other issues that way. So I put this 1/8 inch brace plate on, which the same way as when we just recently put the O2 bung in that titanium downpipe, the larger the surface area that you have for things like this to reside in, the less likely they are to cause issues just due to that larger footprint of them holding on to, in this case, the side of the radiator tank. So that project's wrapped up, and there's one new part that I have in that I'm really excited to show you guys, and I'm really, really pumped and excited for it. And this is something that will go up to accelerated and aid Russ in setting up the lighting circuits on the car. So what we have here is this really neat multifunction light and horn switch from RaceWire Solutions. And they sell this kit both as what I went with, where it's purely just a switch, or a multifunction switch rather. And they also sell it where they have a relay flasher module that can run this whole thing standalone and make the turn signal switch and the lights on the car flash like they normally would. Now, like I said, I opted against that option as I have that leash board that, thought I had some in my beard, but I have that leash board that has flasher relays already built into it, and I did not need an auxiliary flasher relay to go along with this. So what we have, it's a really neat switch. We have our left turn, we have our right turn, we have a button for the horn, which the car does not have right now, but it may end up with one. And then we have 1, 2, 3 different positions for lighting, and I guess 4 if you count the off switch. It comes with a Deutsch connector already on the switch itself, and I guess backtracking for a second, I opted to go with their billet base plate mount deal that I'll end up taking some fiberglass and molding in a flat for that to sit on. But this plate here just makes mounting it a little bit easier and a little bit better option than just drilling a hole and trying to have this thing stick in there. So they also send I guess this would be the female half of the Deutsch connector out. You can see the nice barrel pins there for it. So it's really a high quality Deutsch connector. And beyond that, they also send out these 2 pieces of documentation. So here we have a pinout chart for the different pins that go into this Deutsch connector, so that way you know what wire does what, obviously. And beyond that, they also send out this drafting drawing, so that way you know where to drill the holes, the spacing between bolts and everything, and then they also give you a step-by-step to drill the large center hole that the backside of the switch needs to fit through. So very, very excited for this piece. I saw it on the RWS website and knew immediately that I had to have it. And I actually, right now, have a second order in with them for all of the different rocker switches that I need for the car, all the different features and functions that will be based off of a more normal switch panel, as well as another really neat product that they have that is, it's a power windowed relay module deal. So when you're wiring power windows in, the difficult thing with them is having a switch and a setup that can invert the polarity of the electric motors to make the window go up and down. It isn't easy to do that with just a normal rocker switch or something along those lines, but the RWS guys, they set it up so they take all the hard work out of it for you, and all you have to do is run a few wires and you're pretty much good to go. So can't say enough good things at this point in time about the RWS products that I have obviously right here and that I have ordered as well. And I can't wait for those to come in and make the trip back up to Toledo to deliver them to Russ and let him do his thing with them. So I think that is about going to wrap this episode up. And I know it was kind of all over the place, as had a bunch of different things to do this week, none of which really warranted their own individual videos. But this is kind of a nice, I think at least it's a nice hodgepodge of different things going on around here. And most importantly, different things that are making progress on the Supra project. So beyond that, it was really cool to have Darius come down and visit. His alignment company and that whole concept is just brilliant in my opinion. And to be able to take your car and have a race quality, race grade alignment done to it, done with that precision and with attention to detail to the nth degree like that, that isn't a service that you can just receive anywhere. So if you are anywhere near Michigan or can get your car to him, and like I said, his contact information is linked below, I highly, highly recommend contacting him, and he will get you squared away and going straight down the track as best you can, or around turns as best you can. I have the utmost confidence in Darius and the service that he's offering. But beyond that, that's going to be the end of this video. So as I always tell you guys, you're awesome. You guys make the channel what it is. Your support and your warm comments that you guys leave, the feedback that you guys provide for me for different projects and everything else I have going on around here is just awesome. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming on this wild and wacky fabrication and race car and I guess life journey with me as I play around here in the shop with all these big pieces of metal. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys very much, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you. But that's going to be the end of this episode. So until next time, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.